Welcome back to land of the free and apparently home of the silver trucks. It's a running joke at work. I bought that one in around 2013, 14. What's that been? 11. Had it 11 or 12 years. Had this one about 7 years. And I bought that one about 6 years ago. And didn't really care for silver. They just all happened to be silver. So, anyway, today I've been driving a square body for the past 3 weeks, almost every day to work except for the days I have to go to my office, which is a pretty good round trip. So I've not got brave enough to take it that far yet, but I have noticed transmission's fixing to come back out. Yeah, I know. If you watched other videos, rebuilt the 465, got a small oil leak on it. Motor doesn't leak a drop. I went through it, put on new gaskets, and I know where the transmission's leaking. It's not leaking from the input seal, but it is leaking from the input bearing retainer gasket. So I'm going to set up here. I was hoping to get the green 67 out. Let's get started on it, but it's going to be another week or two, or maybe hopefully not 3, but this weather's just not cooperating. Stormy, rainy. So we're going to set up and see how quick I can get the 465 out and back in. So hang around with me. I'll kind of show you how I pull it out. I've got the seat loose, the center tunnel loose, and like I said before, I always take the distributor cap off. So I got the air cleaner distributor cap out of the way. Fix and crawl under here, set up, see about what time it is. We're going to see how quick I can get that pulled out. When I usually pull these 465s, I always pull the bell housing with it. The last time I took this one out, I left the bell housing in, and it seemed to work pretty good. You only got 4 bolts to take out that way, plus you don't have to worry about your Z-bar, all that. So that's the way I'm going to be pulling it out again. So hang around. We're going to get it out and make sure we can find where it's leaking. Try to get the leak to stop. I already got a Fail-Pro gasket kit. It's cheaper just to get the whole kit from the parts store than it was to order the input retainer gasket online. The input retainer gasket online was around $12 plus shipping. I got the whole gasket set from the parts store for around 20 something. So got plenty of extra gaskets for everything else if I need it. New input seal and all that if I ever need them. Hopefully I don't, but we'll see. When I put the transmission together, I try not to use any RTV on it. The gaskets, other than what little bit just to glue the gasket in place, and apparently that's bit me in the rear, I guess. I don't know. The bearings look like really good bearings when I rebuilt the transmission, but the gaskets did look kind of dinky. So wish I'd have got me a Fail-Pro kit or something whenever I done it to begin with. But we're going to get her out, and hopefully it ain't too bad. We'll see. I've got to where when I was younger, I could pull one quick. We'll see how quick I can pull one, put it back in now. Probably not. I'm not young no more. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see it on the camera, but we got a little bit of leakage. Just a little. It doesn't even leave. Just a small little drip every night, but it's enough of a drip that I want it taken care of. Because like I said, I've got all the other ones taken care of, so I don't want any leaks happening here. I take that back. I don't have them all taken care of. The transfer case is also leaking just a little bit. It actually looks like it's leaking out of the front seal. If you remember when I put this in, I said I'm going to get a kit and get it rebuilt. And I still plan on it. Actually, I'm going to buy a 32 spline input shaft and put it in the factory transfer case it was in here and go through it and just have this one for a spare. But I may go ahead and while I've got it all out, This time I may go ahead and get a seal and go ahead and replace this front output seal just to take care of those leaks. The rear yoke leaks just a little bit when it's going down the road. Doesn't leak setting, but as it's spinning, it is leaking. So it probably needs the bushing replaced in the tail shaft of this one. So I'm going to get the drive shafts pulled out. Actually, I'm going to get the transfer case fluid drained, get the drive shafts out, and get the transfer case pulled off. There's 6 bolts right here. It holds the transfer case on. Get those out. I'll get up there and get the tunnel lifted up and pop the transfer case off real quick. Well, I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't feeling it yesterday, so I didn't need to work on it. I'm gonna get started here. Get the rear drive shaft out of it. 7/16. You know what? I don't know what we done before we had power tools. A lot of ratcheting and cranking, I guess. Getting in the way of my socket. Alright. We'll get around here and catch what fluid's going to come out of this rear of the transfer case. Alright, so I got the back of the drive shaft loose. I'm going to slide her out. Just got a jug here full of, trying to catch what I can of it. It shouldn't be much because I already drained the transfer case and the transmission out of it. So while that's dripping what little bit it's going to drip, get the speedometer cable unhooked. Get it out of the way. I took the front drive shaft out already because I was wanting to get the front, the nut on the yoke broke loose. That way I'm going to change the front output seal on it. And I'm going to have to probably get me some paper towels. So I know a lot of people don't run the strut bar back to the transfer case, but I put it back on this one. I have broken adapter before because of one of these. The 24 millimeter, the 2 bolts that go into it. Take them out. Whether it needs it or not, I don't know, but I just started putting them back on. Used to, I'd take them off and wouldn't put them on, but the $700 Ford 208 and a 465 208 combo are the same length, so the one that comes factory on the truck with the $700 bolted right back in. So I figured I might as well put it on. Alright, so I got the front drive shaft out, back drive shaft out. I'm fixing to set the transmission jack under it, take the 6 bolts out, holding the transfer case to the transmission adapter. Don't forget to unhook your speedometer. I unhooked it while the tail shaft was draining. And the wire for the 4-wheel drive light switch, which is up on top of the transfer case right there. You can reach it over the front drive shaft and unplug it. And that's it. So I'm going to get the transmission jack set under here. I use ratchet straps. I'll show you. Ratchet strap it to the transmission jack with a 4x4 block. It seems to hold that transfer case just at the right angle. I'll do that, get it ratchet strapped on, and take these 6 bolts out. We'll set it down. I'm going to try to catch my gear oil there'll be some gear oil in the adapter that runs out of the rear bearing of the 465 and sits in here. It should not mix in here or that in here. So if you're having that problem, this seal's probably bad. So yeah, I'm gonna try to catch what I can of it. It's getting expensive. And I'll show you the gear oil I run in it. Don't forget, run a GL4 gear oil in these. If you run anything from the parts stores that's GL5 rated, and I did for a few miles until I could get the other end. But let me tell you, when I put the GL4, the shifting was so much smoother. The GL5's got an additive that they claim will corrode the brass synchronizers somehow. I don't know how, but yeah, get you a pretty good GL4. I got a Tri-X, I believe is the brand of it. I'll show you in a little bit. Made in the USA, synthetic GL4 gear oil for transmissions. But anyway, I'm gonna get the jack under here, get the 6 bolts out, get the transfer case off. All right, I don't know if you can tell, but here's kind of how I ratchet strap the transfer case to the transmission jack. Got a 4x4 with a 2x4 on top of it on that one side, and those ears kind of set right there. Ratchet strap, I crisscross them, and it works pretty good. So I've been about 15 minutes pulling the drive shafts, getting the front yoke off. I didn't slide it completely out, but I got the nut off of it. And all I like getting the transfer case is those 6 bolts. So got a ball game for the grandson to go to though, so I'm gonna stop right here for the evening. I didn't get to work on it much, just about 10 or 15 minutes, but could watch him play ball, and I'll get back tomorrow evening, get this pulled out, and get the transmission pulled out, take those 4 3/4 inch bolts out from the bell housing, and I loosen my Z-bar bracket just a little, so when that drops down, it doesn't put anything in a bind on the Z-bar or anything. So I'll get to all that tomorrow evening. All right, so I got the transfer case on a transmission jack. I'm telling you guys, I used to do this by hand. I would just bench press the transfer case off, and I'd roll under one and lay a 465 up on my chest and bench press it in. And I'm too old now to do it, so I've got it on the transmission jack. All right. So far, I'm about 10 minutes in. God, I tightened them up pretty tight. Getting the drive shafts. Took the front yoke nut off. Got the jack under the transfer case. Got it ready to roll. Gonna get all these bolts, the 6 bolts out that holds the transfer case in. And you gotta be kidding me. I just had my 9/16 wrench. I swear I spend more time looking for my stuff most of the time than I do just get over here. What are you doing way over there? Serious. I know this is a lot of trouble for just a small leak, but I just don't want it leaking. I want it to be clean every time I park. So to me, it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it. So I'm gonna finish getting these out. I'll come back in just a minute when I get the transmission jacked up. Man, if I had some ratcheting wrenches, it'd be unreal what I could get done. More than I wanted to do, probably. I need to go get me some. Go to the old Hobo Freight. Pick some up. Get some icons. No, I probably can't afford them. Probably Pittsburgh. We'll go with the Pittsburgh. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, but I'm going to get at the top, go up through the transmission tunnel, and get the 3 top ones out, get these bottom ones out, get a little bit of pressure on the transmission jack, and we'll be ready to drop this baby, the transfer case out anyway. We'll get the transfer case out. So I'll be back in a little bit. All right, I got all 6 of the bolts out. This took me a few minutes, and got the jack under it. Before I break the seal loose, there'll be gear oil in the adapter. Comes in off of the rear output bearing. I'm gonna try. I don't know if I can catch much of it because it usually, it makes a god awful mess. I'm gonna try to get a funnel, maybe, and put right here and put it in the jug and catch what I can catch of it. So what I do to break it loose, I just jack it up a little, get it to spin, and there it went. There it went. So I'm gonna let a little tension off since I got that seal broke loose just a little off the jack, and trying to hold the jug and wiggle the transfer case back off at the same time, and it ain't. It's kind of a challenge because I don't want to knock the jug over and spill a whole gallon of gear oil. Just trying to save a fourth of a quart. So I'm going to start easing it down just a little bit more. About like that right there. And start sliding it back just ever so slightly. And I think I've caught most of it. And I'm telling you, transmission jack, like I said, I used to pick these up by hand, drop them in and out. This right here has been unreal. I never knew pulling a transmission and transfer case would be so enjoyable. Not really enjoyable, but it's sure a heck of a lot better than doing it by just bench pressing it up in there. I will say that. Alright, so transfer case is off. Probably not needed, but I'll loosen my Z-bar bracket because when the bell housing tilts down, I go to pull the transmission out. I don't want that bar to get in too bad of a bind, and that gives a little slack on the bracket to let the bar kind of tilt down a little bit too. So I'm gonna get these 4 3/4 inch bolts out, get my cross member, the mount bolts out, then I'll get my jack under here, take these 4 bolts, and the transmission will pop right out. So I'm gonna get these out and get the jack situated under here. All right, so I have had it out. I've not told this, but this is like the 3rd time I've had it out. Actually, the 2nd time since I rebuilt it. And it's because of a leak in the same spot. If you'll look at the bottom of the retainer, bearing retainer, it is leaking. I don't really know what to do. I know the first time I put it together, and I've mentioned before, the gaskets that came with the rebuild kit I got didn't look to be the best. So I pulled it back apart. I had a leak bigger than what it is now. It still wasn't just unreal. But the gasket was oil soaked. I tried cleaning it up with brake cleaner, put a little bit of RTV on it, and resealed it. And it's barely leaking now, but it is leaking, and it's enough that I don't want it to leak. So I have took it back apart. I want to pull it apart. I'm going to pull the input bearing retainer back off and look and see if I can kind of tell for sure. I'm almost wondering if it's leaking around that bolt. All right, I got it back out. Got it out. Got it cleaned up. I originally thought this wasn't a blind hole. I thought this went all the way through, and I didn't put no sealant on these holes because they are blind holes, and apparently that's blind hole 2. But I still may put a little sealant on them this time. I really don't like using RTV, any kind of gasket maker. But this is the 2nd time I've had this out for this same leak. One thing I did find out, I've done a little micrometering or micro measuring, micrometering. That retainer does not sit all the way up there. I've got almost 30 thousandths when it's tightened up between the case and that. I ain't got it up on there far enough. Yeah, it is. There's a pretty good gap, so I done some measuring on the gasket. The gasket I bought with the rebuild kit was not the gasket I bought with the rebuild kit was not as thick as the Fail Pro one. I marked took a filler gauge after I kind of tightened these up, seeing what kind of gap I had. So I got to thinking this lock ring on this new bearing's too thick, not allowing that to go back. So I got the old bearing and the old lock ring and measured it to the new one, and they are the same. So that wasn't the case. So I actually have the old lock ring and the old bearing retainer out of the original transmission here. And as you can see, when I put my filler gauge up here, there's about 30 thousandths between it. So it's just designed that way. You know, it's designed for the gasket. That bearing retainer is not made to set flat against that case without, you know, there's a little bit of a gap. So I'm going to put a little bit of RTV on it. God, I hate to, but I'm going to try to really watch and not, you don't want to stop this return hole up. And it's really close on the gasket. You don't have much material, which, believe it or not, it wasn't leaking here. It was leaking in this general area. So I'm going to wipe it down with some lacquer thinner. So I'm going to wipe it down with some lacquer thinner, get some RTV Ultra Black, something like that, whatever I got. Get it put on there and get the bearing retainer put back in. I am going to torque them this time too, just to kind of make sure. That may not be the issue. I just kind of tightened them up last time. I know these do flex, give a little bit, they can. So, all right, but I'm going to get this, quit talking, get the gasket put on it. Well, me and Bella got the bearing retainer put back on. And I do not like using RTV, but it's got a little thin skim on both sides of the gaskets. Hopefully I don't have to take it off again, because if I do, that gasket is burnt. But we're going to try it out, give it a whirl. Fixing to get it set up here and stab it back in there. It's pretty well, it's ready to go. I went to torque these down to 30 foot-pounds is what they kind of call for, but I'm telling you, that's, yeah, it's going to be a bit much. So, went to about 25, and I think it's tight enough. It was starting to push the gasket itself out, so I don't want to get too tight. So I'm going to get set up here and get the transmission thrown back in it. All right, so my pilot bearing fell out when I pulled the transmission out. I went ahead and took my adjustable, the rod, from the clutch fork to the Z-bar. Went ahead and took it off just so I'd have some movement in my clutch fork to get this kind of set back where it needs to go. And oh shoot, or come out. You want to make sure you keep your thingamabobber in there too. Yeah, buddy. And we're pretty well lined up enough right there. It should go back in. Should. Hopefully. Maybe. Alright, so I'm going to get the transmission slapped around here. Get it jacked up. Get it ready to stab in there. Alright. I didn't film much taking it out. So we're going to film putting her in there. Putting it in. I'm honestly getting sick of putting the thing in. I'm going to get behind it. There it went. All it needed was a little push. A little push. And it is in there. Get these 4 3/4 inch bolts back in it. We'll get the cross member in it. Alrighty. Alrighty. Get the cross member back in. Some bolts. At least one on one side. That's why God give you knees. That way you can hold one end of your cross member up. Yep. Sure enough. Come on. Get in there. These spacers, even though this truck's lifted, and even though some of these lift companies say to run that sleeve between the cross member and the frame, do not do that. Do not do that. All that's going to do, it will drop your transfer case, but then your front drive line, your yoke is pointed up and then back down. So you're just running that angle. 4 or 6 inch lift, you're not gonna have enough issues with your drive line angle here. So whatever you do, don't put this spacer between the frame and the cross member. If you have trouble with your front one hitting, like I did, just notch it a little, like I did in one of my other videos. I kind of showed a little bit. I notched these so the front drive shaft don't hit when you lift them. But whatever you do, don't put that in there, and make sure you run those sleeves. Those sleeves are actually a compression sleeve, a crush sleeve. Keep those in there, but run them on top or bottom of the bolt. I keep them factory. I run this side on the top, the other side on the bottom. But whatever you do, don't use them as a spacer to drop the cross member. That's a bad idea. And I know some of these lift companies say to do that, but that is not what you want to do. Not what you want to do. I always start the mount bolts before I let the transmission all the way down, because it just makes it easier to get them started, get you a few rounds in there. If you set it down on here, it's harder to wiggle it around and get it to line up. If I had the weight of it and everything tightened, that would be just more of a pain. So there's those. So I'm going to get all these tightened up. We'll come back. I'm going to get the surface cleaned up, and I'll be right back just a second. Get the transfer case put on here. Then we'll be ready to put the drive shafts in, and we're done. Done. All right. We put the transfer case in. I do use RTV on this, but I don't really like to, but what in the world? Well, twist the input or the output just a little. Give it a little nudge. Lift the back up here. I mean, this is just slick as I'll get out. Come on. There you go. There we go. Come on, just try to. I don't want it to smack up on there because I'm not sure the bolts are quite lined up. So I'll spin it after That's pretty dang close right there. 6 bolts. Well, that's going to be about it. Back in, the wife and I's been driving it around, having a good time. We're fixing to go to town again in it here in a little bit, and probably get another ice cream or something. I know I was wanting to start on the green truck. I know this video wasn't much. Kind of boring. Most of them probably are. But before I start on the green truck, I'm going to start on my brother-in-law's 78 K10. It's in desperate desperate need of some rust repair. So hang around if you want to watch that. We're going to do cab braces, floors, rockers, cab corners, pretty much everything from about 8 inches up on the cab down. We're going to change. So, and doors. I think he's got 2 new doors. We're going to put doors on it. So, hang around. We're going to get started on that one. It's supposed to storm again all day tomorrow. Sunday, probably Monday. Get that one done. Try to get it knocked out in the next week or so. And then we'll start on the green 67. The old barn find C10. So, hang around. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Wife and I's fixing to hit the town in old 83 again. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get started on the 78 and get some rust repair done on it. And then from that point, we'll go to that one. Thanks for watching.